Hi there folks, welcome to RRTV's live coverage of the Sim Racers Asia Series, coming to you tonight from the Nurburgring, and it's round 9, and your commentary team tonight is myself, Bernie Weemers, and I'm joined in the booth by Weehan Chan. Welcome Weehan, we're going to be in for an interesting night of racing here.
Hey Bernie, good evening. Absolutely, of course, we've come to the Nürburgring this week. Needs no introduction.
It certainly doesn't. It's some of the Aussies know Bathurst. This is like Bathurst on steroids, I tell you. It's taken these guys over 8 minutes to do one lap. The race is going to be 45 minutes time certain, so we're expecting them to get around about 6 laps done at the most. 50% fuel, so they'll get at the most 3 laps before they're going to have to refuel. They've got one fast repair, which I'm sure they're all going to use tonight, and 20, what have I got here, 20 incident points that they can use up. So that's, you know, we could see a lot of retirements here tonight.
Perhaps a lot of retirements and, of course, the free repairs. Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure they will have to use it because of the way this track is. Not going to jinx it, but I think it's going to be quite easy for them to come to contact tonight.
Yeah, I think so, especially once they get into the mountainous area or the back half of that circuit. It's very twisty, very unforgiving, no runoff, as we can see at the moment. We've got Matt Morris up here. He's second fastest in quali at the moment. The track's so long, they've actually extended qualifying to 45 minutes because it's taking them, as I said, good 15 minutes if they don't get any off tracks on that second lap to actually set a time.
Exactly right. Of course, this track has all sorts of elevation changes and blind corners, which means that you may find that drivers, it will be easier for them to make mistakes here and there. So that might also be why we've actually only got 11 drivers who've already set a lap time with a total of 20 odd drivers tonight.
Yeah, so if we have a look at those standings now, folks, on qualifying, Jazrin Yali, sorry, probably mispronounced that, 8 minutes 6 seconds. That's the fastest time. Then we've got Matt Morris in second, Philip Choi in... It's probably Philippe Choi in third, Mod Zafri Zanudin in fourth, fifth Chris Hill, sixth Kim Geoman, you're going to have to pronounce them and help me with this, Lachlan Crow in seventh, eighth is Chai Zinyan, I messed that up, Brian Renfor's ninth, and 10th is Paul Nelson. As we see now, Lachlan just running off. That's going to cost him that time.
Absolutely. Only 11 drivers having set a time, and the lap times from 1st to 10th. The lap times are within, I'd say, 18 seconds of one another, so that is quite a huge gap. But we've also got to remember that this track is quite long, very long rather. And the gap, the lap time gap between drivers will be significantly larger than usual.
Yeah, I'm just going to get the length. I think it was about 16 miles long, from what I understand. I'll bring that up now and get that for certain, but I'm pretty sure it was about 16 miles long.
Yes, I believe so. 15.77 miles. That means 25.38 kilometers.
I would say so. It's a long way. But yeah, and I'll tell you what, if they have a bit of a problem out there, it's going to be a long tow back to the pits as well. So it's all going to be about caution and patience, and that's going to be the name of the game out here tonight, I think.
And common sense.
Yes, that as well. And just jumping on board with Chris W. Hill now, just to give you guys a bit of a feel out there what it's like. And as you can see, as Weehan said, lots of blind corners, and they're just going to have to be patient when they've got the other 24 cars out here and around them. I tell you what, Weehan, if they have any incident in front of them, they've got nowhere to go.
pretty much nowhere to go. Of course, you just have a look at how little space you have between the edge of the track and the barriers. No room for error at all.
Exactly right. I was trundling around here the other day in a skip barber. I got one lap in and then I binned it. So if you can get into trouble in a skippy around here, imagine the sort of chaos you can get yourself into in a GT3.
Well, on the upside, I think the GT3 would be less prone to slight contacts here and there. At least you have the shell around the car, which should prevent a little bit of mechanical damage here and there.
Yeah, I'd say so, but still, they're going a bit faster. But we can see Chris Hill at the moment. He's set a time of 8 minutes 10 seconds. He's 5th fastest out there at the moment. Just bring up our qualifying to confirm that. Yes, he's 5th fastest. So quite a big gap from 1st to 10th. A good 15 seconds, which isn't a lot really over a distance of about 28 kilometres. Or 25 kilometres, whatever you said.
Yeah, not too bad. I mean, if we multiply it by comparing it to usual track lengths, I think that was what you usually expect in terms of timing differences. But of course, 8:06, that's really fast lap time there.
Yeah, and don't worry, folks. Even we've only had 11 qualify, but we've got 24 out there. People like Brian Renfors here, he hasn't put in a time, but I was watching him before we went on air. He's actually quite quick. The only problem he's got is he's getting an off track, and of course in iRacing you get one off track in your qualifying, that whole lap's null and void, which isn't normally a problem on a track of a normal type length, but you get one off track here, you've wasted a good 8 minutes and you're only going to get 6 attempts at the most to have a run and set a time. And there he goes again, another off track.
Well, that's just the nature of this track. High risk but high reward. Yeah,
well, that's right. And we'll see how they go when they line up here. I'm expecting a lot of people to be pretty cautious, but then again, this is a Sim Racers Asia, and one thing these guys do is they race hard and they race fast. I can't imagine that's going to change much tonight. What I think we may see is a lot of retirements, and yeah, we'll see if I'm wrong about that. But having a look at the weather now, folks, bringing that up. So 15.65 miles is a track length, or 25.18 kilometres. It's partly cloudy out there today, 33 degrees Celsius or 91 degrees Fahrenheit, depending where you're watching us in the world today.
So weather is partly cloudy, dare I say, partly cloudy with a chance of meatball flags.
Yeah, that's right. Sounds like a movie. Partly cloudy with the chance of meatballs, eh?
Flags.
Yeah, well, you can add the flags. I was thinking of the movie, but yeah. So we've also got Kim Dong-jin 3 out there at the moment. He's qualified 13th by the looks of it. His time in 8 minute 38. So he's got his qualifying going. Beautiful presented car as well.
It looks like a really interesting paint scheme there. Of course, Bernie, I'd like to also bring up that on this track, I believe you may be fast, but if your form is not up to point, or rather up to form, I may not make a difference, because this track it demands you to drive safe more than to drive fast.
Yeah, it's a real driver's test type track. Very technical. Lots of you've got to really have your wits about you, and you're right. Driving accurate is much more important than driving fast around here, because if one of these guys, as we see Kevin Huang there, trying to get to grips, not get to grips, he slid, but you could see that exit. He was coming off that banked part of the circuit. A lot of the time they'll get that car in, but that exit threw his car sideways. He gathered it up, but Yeah, even if you're not fast and everyone else is faster and they crash out, well, you're going to get 8 minutes up on them before they even get back in their car.
It says a lot about what the kind of demands that this track presents to drivers compared to what we'd usually expect elsewhere.
Yeah, so let's have a look at the point score coming into this, folks. So I'll get rid of all this clutter so we can actually pay attention. So the GT3 Drivers' Championship, Kevin Huang is leading the way on 671 points. Jazrin Jali second in the BMW. He's on 640 points. Ahmed Nurizm, he's right behind him on 620. Then there's quite a gap down to fourth. Alex Pole for Delta Simsport on 494 points in fourth. And rounding out our top five is Federico Duarte Joaquim, and I can't read the rest of his name there, on 434 points.
Of course, these drivers, the top three especially, the points are within, I believe, 50 points of one another. So that's going to be quite a close fight for tonight. But of course, we've also got to remember that in this league, we drivers are actually allowed to drop one of the lowest scoring races, so that should probably equalize their points scoring as they proceed to the final race next week.
Yeah, so there's a few drivers not out here, like Daniel Leet. He didn't come out to race tonight, so this will probably be his drop round. But I think I'd still turn up and have a crack at it and have that choice, because if you don't turn up, this is your drop round, and then if you have a bad run next week, well, you've got nothing to fall back on, but each to their own. It's looking at the team championships now coming into this race. YLab Ace is leading the way on 1,687 points. They're actually 203 points in front of Delta Simsport in second. They're on 1,484 points. Macau Sim Racing Team, they're in third at the moment on 1,408 points. And then Macau Sim Racing Development is in fourth place on 1,029 points. YLab Osum, they round out our top five on 984 points.
So quite a battle there with perhaps a leading team trailing ahead of the second team by quite a few points there.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of a gap going there, isn't there? And I think there's one Australia-New Zealand club team in there, and the rest are from the various parts of Asia and China and wherever else they come from. But that's a great thing about this series, isn't it? For anyone new to it, it's the Sim Racers Asia. It brings the Oceanic clubs, Australia, New Zealand, in with all the Asian region, all the way up to China, Japan. They can all come and race, and it's become quite a long-running and successful competition, and something that a lot of people enjoy.
Certainly, as we can see tonight, there are a good variety of participation from around the Asia Pacific.
That's exactly right. That sounds better than the way I explained it.
Because the layout of the circuit tonight, we race on the 24-hour layout. That means the combination of the Grand Prix circuit as well as this larger Nordschleife circuit. But the only difference is that the choice of a first corner, instead of using the Mercedes arena, this layout would actually just use, would cut that section there and use just the Yokohama as chicane.
Okay, yeah. And we can see Kevin Huang out here again. He's really struggling in this McLaren tonight. He's normally the only McLaren out there, but I'm just watching that car, and it's getting a little bit loose as it's trying to contend with a lot of the undulations and bumps that the Nordschleife throws up.
Not exactly Kevin's favorite, or rather most optimal car track combination here, because the McLaren is fast on the straights, but it's also quite unstable, so I'm not too sure how it'll play out for Kevin tonight.
Yeah, well, he's normally very, very quick in this car, and he'll have his have a bit of a test at the moment. He's classified in 21st, and he's set a time, but just having a look at it, I don't know if that time was counted. It was not counted, so he does have pace, and he just can't convert that into a qualifying lap. But as I said, one off track and that lap is nullified, so really it doesn't. I don't think it's going to affect him too much.
Hopefully not, because although you have to it goes a bit slidey there, but even if you can't set a lap time during qualifying, even if you can't qualify for a certain position, if you're able to avoid possible incidents along the first lap, or around the first sections of the race, you could stand a chance to jump the guys who may have gotten into an incident and make your way back up.
Yeah, I think the biggest danger is for someone like Kevin Huang. He's going to be starting down in the field. You can see there's absolutely no runoff areas. If there's a crash up ahead, it could potentially block the track, and it could potentially take out a lot of drivers behind them. So that's something that I think the mid-pack to the back of the pack is going to have in the back of their minds when this race starts very shortly. We're just waiting now for the extra time to tick down, and then we'll be setting up for a rolling start. But the fields are... We're looking at around about 24, but there's a lot of guys out of their cars, so it's not necessarily means we're going to have all of them take to the grid, as we see Kevin there spin, and that's exactly where we saw him have trouble last time. So he's going to have to, he might even be better off going around the flat circuit part of those corners, you know.
Yeah, but the bank part is quite fun to drive.
It's fun, but it throws him out the other side and into the wall. It's like, yeah, it's all fun and games until someone goes and gets hurt.
Pretty much, but Kevin, he's already gathered it back, actually, as he takes this section of the track.
We just see there Stephen Grimmer, 14th fastest. He set a time 8 minutes 27 seconds. So he set his time there. That was counted. And most of the guys, we've got Sean Thompson out there having a run. We saw him the other night in the Australian Online Supercar Championship. Fortunately, he retired from that race. But you can just see him there. He's trying to use that bankment and the banked part of the corner, but he used that flat part. Now, that banked inner part of the corner, if you can get that right, you can gain a lot of time. But these cars are very stiffly sprung, and I don't think they appreciate the sudden drop-off, the sudden coming off that banked inset onto the flat circuit part of that corner.
Sure, I guess the key to that corner is that you have to get, not only do you have to get your line right, you'll also have to get your speed right, and I think the optimum speed through that corner is around about 70 or 80 kilometers per hour, and that should be able to guarantee you a stability through the corner.
Okay, let's take a mental note and see how many cars are going to crash trying to get around those parts of the circuit. So you can see Alex Pole, he's in the pits, not setting a time. Got Kevin Huang still out there. He's just coming down the long straight now to finish off his lap. It won't be counted, of course, but any seat time you can get in this car, the better. Hopefully the guys have done a lot of practice here and are quite familiar with this layout. I know it was very popular when it came out, but to me I use it more as a tourist type drive. I've never actually raced on it, so I can't really comment on how much fun it is to race on this sort of a circuit.
As we've just seen Sean Thompson there, he's taken that carousel again, but he actually took right on the middle between the banking and the flat section.
Okay, that's interesting. So he's sitting on the fence.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, we can see him now coming down that back straight. Now we'll get the time on him. Won't be. Oh, it could be counted. 7 minutes 40 is his time. If he hasn't had an off track, we'll see what sort of a time he can post. At the moment, he's 8th fastest anyway, so I think he'll be pretty happy with that grid. That'll put him on the 4th row.
Not too sure about that. I think he may have overstepped that section a bit over the grass.
As he comes across the line, let's start going through this grid. It will be a rolling start here tonight, folks, but we'll go through the field now, just so you know where your favourite driver will be starting, and I don't think it's going to change too much. So let's have a look at the grid. So Matt Morris, I've got him the fastest on provisional pole. He did an 8:05.980. He's joined on the grid by Jazrin Jali in a BMW. His time an 8:06.161. Then Philippe Choi from the Asian club. He will start in the 2nd row in 3rd, and he's got Mohd Zafri Zanuddin in 4th next to him. Moving back to the 3rd row, we have Chris Hill and Kim Juamin.
Kim Jumin.
That's what I said. Out of the 4th row tonight, we've got Lachlan Crowe and Sean Thompson. Starting out of the 5th row in 9th is Simon George Sanchez, and then Brian Renfors will start next to him. Moving back to the 6th row, out of 11th is Chai Zinyan. I know you told me that beforehand and I've mispronounced it. And Rob Harris starts out at 12th. Did you want to go through the rest of the grid?
Sure, now on P30, we have Paul Nelson. He set a lap time of 8:24.14. He sits in 13th, and beside him is Stephen Grima, who's 3 seconds behind him. And to round out the last of the drivers who have set a lap time is Kim Dong-jin. He sits in 15th. And Ahmad Nurisam, he sits in P16. He has not posted a qualifying lap time, so does the drivers behind him. So in P17th is Abhi Putra, and P18th is Lin Yuanxi. 19th and 20th will be Stanley Lee as well as Federico Teixeira. And 21st will be Hugo Silva Jr., 22nd Adam Yusri, and rounding up your grid are Alex Pohl and Kevin Huang. Of course, not used to seeing Kevin in that position, but that could change because he's all the way back there.
It's interesting, what you called as a grid is not what I showed on the overlay, so that's our first interesting dilemma there. I'm not sure what's going on here, folks, as far as the start of this race goes. All the cars have gone, and we've got a couple sitting in here. I don't think they're doing a server change, are they?
No, I don't think so. There's still 45 minutes of racing to go.
Correct. So just wondering where they all are. So it's like they've all given up and gone to the pub, and we're the last to know. So we're just waiting for the qualifying to complete here. Can you see how much time we've got left on the qualifying time down counter there, Weehan?
We have 1 minute and 20 seconds to go. Okay. So not too long before the pace safety car goes.
Yep, that's right. And it'll be a rolling start. And as we said, for the viewers just joining us, where it's a 45-minute time certain race, 50% fuel. So they're going to have to make a pit stop. Incidence limits is 20, and they get 1 fast repair. From the calculations, I'm figuring they're going to do between 5 and 6 laps, and they will be pitting between laps 2 and towards the end of lap 3. We should see that pit window. As far as starters tonight, 24. As far as finishers go, be interesting to see what the viewers think. Are we going to expect a lot of carnage here, folks? How many people do you think are going to finish this race? I'll ask you, Weehan.
Come on, don't jinx it already. The race hasn't even begun.
I'm talking it up. You know how it is. That's what we do in the media.
Pretty much.
Here we go, folks. You can see all the cars now starting to take to the grid, and the safety car will lead them off pretty soon. We're just waiting for half the field to come in. Now, it's going to be interesting to see if we do get a full field of 24. I'm expecting so, but we'll see if any of the guys are snuck out the back door and might be a bit scared to take to the grid here. We should have put you in one of these tonight.
Yeah, but then you'll have no co-commentator for tonight.
Yeah, I guess. That would have been a problem. Yeah, and a shout out to Scott Newton if he's watching tonight. He's over here in Canberra, and I tell you what, mate, you picked a good time to come to Canberra because we had the coldest maximum temperature in Canberra since 1970, and it's been raining all day. It's chilly, and it feels like winter's finally arrived here.
Tell me more. I'm burning to death here.
Oh, well, I'll tell you a bit more. How hot do you think it is in Canberra at the moment? Let's bring up Mr. Weather. Oh, it's 11 degrees, not too bad out there. Minimum 5 degrees tonight. And looks like it's cloudy. So there you go.
Enjoying.
Oh, yeah. I've just got the heater on. It's fine. You've got the aircon on. I've got the heater on. What a crazy world.
My aircon is not working. I'm just running off this old fan that I have.
So we're still waiting, folks, on Ahmed Nurizam to take to the grid. Chai Jinman and Adamutri are the three we're waiting to take to the grid so we can get this race underway. Looks like they're not going to get a start. Maybe they've decided they're going to start from the pits. But basically what will happen, folks, is the safety car will lead them down the remainder of this straight into the stadium, and the start and finish line is actually in the Grand Prix part of the circuit of the main straight, as we see them all starting to go out. I tell you what, Kevin Huang, he is starting out as 16th, so that's the furthest we've seen him start down the grid for quite some time.
Yes, that's quite unexpected for... Sorry, which driver was it?
Kevin Huang.
Ah, yes, Kevin. Not the usual spot that you'll expect from him.
Yeah, that's it. It sort of blows your cover when you say, sorry, I wasn't listening. Just saying.
I've just received some text from my team in iRacing China. They're talking about how horrible this race will be.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a test, isn't it? And I'll tell you what, the guys will hopefully take this with caution. You can see them now coming through the final S-bend. They'll come up into the Grand Prix complex now. You can see them onto the racetrack proper here, and they're under starters orders. Yazrin Jali will lead them away, and we'll see how these guys go. Just waiting now for the start-finish flag. Here we go. Away we go, folks. And 45 minutes here at Nurburgring for round 8. They'll come straight down here into a hairpin, tight hairpin, then a tight left hairpin. As you can see, the track's nice and wide, almost 3-4 wide. Contact already. And yeah, it's I don't know what you'd call that.
Oh, it's got a mayhem start there. I think contact somewhere back in the back in the middle of the field.
Well, that's Brian Renfre's off.
This part, yeah.
We just lost Brian already. Just trying to see, was that Brian Renfre's? It was Brian already off.
Yes, it was Brian.
Let's jump back and have a look at that replay. Doesn't look like he's got any damage. The danger with this sort of contact, there's a lot of heavy contact going on. Danger is if you injure your car, you're going to have the world's slowest lap. And you can just see there, who's he got in contact with? It's another Mercedes there. They were banging paint, and can't get a number, but Ryan off the fence, crumpled the front. Hopefully he doesn't have any steering damage and he can continue on.
Yeah, not exactly the most pleasant experience for a pleasant start for Brian here. as he's crumbled his front end. Not exactly a nice sight for him that he'll have
Yeah,
to
well,
live for the rest of the race.
Yeah, have a look at his steering though. It's about
Wow.
45 degree down already. So, yeah, he's going to have to get that car back, and he's going to have a long way to go to get that car back, that's for sure. But out front at the moment, we have Brian Matt Morris leading over Chris Hill. He's got Jazrin Jali in the BMW right behind him. And then we've got Philip Choi in fourth. Fifth position is Abrafadi Raditra Putra, and he's in the Ferrari. Then Simon George Sanchez is sixth. Seventh is Mod Zafran Zanudin. Eighth, Lachlan Crow. Ninth, Kim Dong-jin. And he was the one that we saw was trading paint with Brian there. And then Jiomin Kim out of 10th, in 10th at the moment. He's also carrying a crumpled front bonnet.
It's not exactly the best start for every driver here, although having a look at Abi Putra, he has made a huge gain for himself, started from 16th and now he's all the way up to 5th?
Yeah, in the Ferrari.
Exactly, a beautifully presented white YLab paint scheme there.
Yeah, it's a beautiful car, isn't it? And just having a look at the guys that are in the pits. We've got Paul Nelson already. He's turned the motor off. He's getting towed back, so he'll be a while. Sean Thompson also in the pits after he had a tow. And your friend there, Jin Yan Che, he looks like he may have started from pit road. And he's sitting in 17th at the moment, putting pressure on Alex Pole, who's just ahead of him. And Alex has already got that crumpled bonnet as well.
Yes, I think a wise decision by him to start from the pits to avoid all that carnage.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it hasn't hurt him, that's for sure. And just having a look of the gaps and the battles going on here. And the moment, the top three, they're starting to get a bit of a gap, aren't they, over Abbey there in the Ferrari.
Sure, Matt Morris leading the top three, and he's leading Chris Hill as well as Justin Jolly. The three of them, possible three-way fight up here, up all the way in front. And yes, huge gap between Justin and Abi Putra there. And what does look like the field is already starting to pull itself apart.
Pull itself apart. That's great wording there. So, Mr. Charles says, odds are there will be a big crash on the Nordschleife ? Yeah, you could be on the money there. We've had a few cars suffer already, and I'm expecting a fairly high retirement rate at this circuit.
Pretty much not exactly the best track.
Oh, who's that?
About?
Chris Hill, straight into the wall. That was very interesting. Let's have a look at this, because we're riding there with Jazrin Jali on the roof cam, and Chris under acceleration. Have a look at this, Weehan. He just snapped to the left and went straight in the wall. I don't think there was contact. Yeah, he's just clipped.
I think it was a curb.
He just clipped it, didn't he? Just clipped it with his wheel, and that was enough to unsettle that car and straight into the wall. That's how unforgiving the Nordschleife is, and he's carrying a lot of damage and dropping well off the pace now.
Exactly, and if there's one thing that you should try to do less on this circuit is to ride the curbs, because unlike usual curbs on usual circuits which are more flat, the curbs here, they're actually quite there's actually quite a bit of an embankment, so running over them will surely upset the balance that you have on the car.
Yeah, it certainly does. You know what I was expecting you to say. One thing you definitely have to do less of on this track is crash.
Sure, that's
And Kevin Wang at the moment, he's up to 8th position now, so he started 16th, and Well, it's got here started 9th, but in the top 10. We'll see how far he can get in this McLaren. It's looking like quite a nervous McLaren, and but we'll see how he goes.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be sitting in Kevin's car as a passenger. Just looking at the way the car is handling here, it's a bit frightening.
Yeah, he'll definitely be on his toes, that's for sure. And we can see Simon George Sanchez here closing up on Federico Duarte, Da Rocha, Texiera, and these guys are having a good little battle here, and that's for 9th and 10th. And just wondering if they're in the same team. I don't think they are. They're just carrying the same livery, or are they both in MFR colours here? Yeah,
I think they're both in. Yes, they're both in the same
MSRT.
Same team. Yes, MSRT. But looking back to what their race last week, I think both of them they've actually come into contact last week. So I hope they don't make the same mistake today.
Yeah, and they're starting to close up now on 9th position. That's Joyman Kim. Sorry on my pronunciation. But they're slowly closing in on those two. Looking further back here, we've got Philip Choi and Alex Pohl. They've got a bit of a gap going there. And where's poor Brian Renfors? Well, he's had to take that car and tow it back. So we saw him just in the stadium area having that incident, and he's back now in the pits being towed. So is Stanley Lee. Stanley's nice Ferrari isn't looking so nice at the moment. And yeah, so we've already got 4 drivers in the pits, and we've already had 4 retirements. Looks like Ahmed Nurazim and Adam Utri both did not make the start.
Not exactly the most favourable outcome for them. And I think that brings us all the way down to perhaps 15 drivers on the lead lap.
Yeah, and the leaders are already back, go past the start-finish line to start their next lap here. And Jazrin Jali, Matt Morris, they're having a good battle here, and quite inseparable. And that's BMW versus Mercedes. It'd be interesting to see which car's better suited to this style of circuit.
One thing for sure is that you have the drivers of each car. They've actually driven this car all season long, so you'd expect them to be actually quite fast with the car that they're on. Of course, with Jazri Jali, he drives a BMW, but he's able to push it even on this track. So I'd really like to see how this will unfold with the laps to come.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, if we look at the top 10 as they come through to complete lap 1, Matt Morris, Jazrin Jali, they're separated by 0.5 of a second, almost 0.6 now, and they've got a massive gap back to Abi Putra here in the Ferrari. He's now moved into 3rd position. Modzafri Zanudin in 4th. He's also in a Ferrari. He's starting to close in now on Abbey. And then 5th position goes to Lachlan Crowe in the Mercedes. 6th is Kevin Huang. He's moved up another 2 in the McLaren, the only lonely McLaren out there. Then Xiaomin Kim in the Mercedes is coming through 7th. 8th, Federico Duarte, Joaquim Da Roca Texiera is in 8th. 9th is his teammate Simon George Sanchez, and then Rob Harris, he rounds out our top 10. He's in the Audi, the first of the Audis there.
Yes, sorry, my telemetry isn't updating, so Rob Harris seems to be near P11 for me. But anyway, let's have a look at Matt Morris and Jazrin Jali. Of course, they're still fighting it out hard up front. And let's have a ride on Jazrin's car, because he's trying. Of course, they've come to this section. He's trying to do all he can to close his gap with Matt Morris.
See there, I'll bring up our telemetry as well, because that'll give you the actual speed of the car. Unfortunately, the iRacing telemetry, it gives us the gears and the revs, but not the speed. You can also see the gap there live on our telemetry there, folks, as it changes. And we'll see what sort of speeds they get up to in these big, long, fast areas of the circuit.
Oh, no. That was a terrible contact there. Race leader is out. Justin Jolly also affected by the incident, although they still have built themselves quite a long gap ahead of Abi Putra, so they should still be able to hold on to first and second.
Depends on their damage. It's your fault. You told us to get in that crazy car. So let's have a look at this on the replay. And yeah, he's just got a wheel on the grass, not much, straight on the infield. Tell you what, Matt wouldn't have seen this coming, and he almost got away with it, got tagged. Jazreen into the wall, Matt also into the wall heavily, and hopefully they haven't got any steering damage here.
Hopefully not, but I think Jazreen got the brunt of the damage as he went straight on into the tire barriers there.
Just having a look at Matt, he's trying to get this car back. He's got a lot of steering damage. As you can see, we're riding with him, and he's having real trouble just keeping that car straight, so that's a disaster for him. Jazreen Jali, trying to find him. He's down there in 6th, 7th. He's just got passed by Kevin Huang. Let's have a look at his car. His isn't looking too bad. He's got a lot of bonnet damage. We'll just have a look when he gets on the straight bit to see if that steering is what it's doing.
Yeah, the steering looks to be quite off.
Yeah, but not as bad as Matt's. It's slight left hand down. Compare that though to Matt Morris up here, and you'll see what I mean. See what I mean?
Wow. Well, that's quite a huge difference. Of course, drivers, they have one. Matt Morris, getting a bit squiggly there.
Oh, he's having real trouble just trying to keep that car straight.
Yeah, the driver behind him flashing the lights, get out of the way, be careful. I'm coming up here as they come up to this bank section here. With his bent steering wheel, not exactly the cleanest execution of the corner as he now loses P3 to... Which driver is that? Yeah,
that's Lachlan Crowe just came through in the 420. Now you can see Matt, he's going on the infield. Can he pull it up? Oh my goodness, he's trying to get out of the way, and he's got a very damaged car. Drivers around him are probably thinking, man, you can't drive in a straight line, what are you doing? But they're probably not aware that he's got some serious steering damage on that car.
Sure, and I do believe he may want to use his fast repair the next time he goes into the pits. And speaking of the pits, now we are at about 30 minutes to go. Pit window should be open soon.
Yeah, it's between lap 2 and 3. They're 50% fueled here, so I'd expect them probably to get this lap. They'll start coming in, or definitely the lap after. The question is, they've got to make sure if they come through that they can complete another 25 kilometres on their fuel. And we can see here Abi Putra is now leading over Mod Zafri Zanudin. So the two Ferraris are stretching their legs now, and we'll get you a live gap. Let's see if we've got a live gap now for you. No, we've got to wait for him to complete a lap for it to update. So that's one of the problems, isn't it? As we now see Abi losing the lead to Mod Zafri Zanudin. Good pass there.
Exactly, clean move there by Zafri to make that move on Abi Putra. That puts Zafri up to the lead.
Yeah, exactly right, and they're coming down the long back stretch now. This goes up through the chicane, so to speak, and into the stadium to complete lap 2. And we'll see what these guys are doing. But the Ferraris look very nicely suited to this type of circuit. We can see there the Mercedes of Lachlan Crowe coming through next. Then Kevin Huang in the McLaren. He's worked his way up 9 positions, so he's looking good at the moment. And then we've got the teammates, Federico and Simon there side by side. And then poor Matt Morris here snaking his way up the back. He'll be so glad to get out of this car when he finally gets back to the pits.
Ooh, almost went off track there, Matt Morris.
Yeah, he's doing the very best he can. He's got his teammate now, Chris Hill. Oh, hold on to it, Matt.
Oh, my goodness.
Matt's back.
Does he save it? No, he just has to rely on the barriers to keep. As he re-enters the track. Oh, okay.
That was his teammate there. So that was so close. And yes, he does go in the pits and dives
right into the pits.
Yeah, Jazrin Jali also into the pits to get those fast repairs on. What about the 2 Ferraris? They go through, so does Lachlan Crowe. Kevin Huang goes through, so they should stop next time by. So also, Simon George Sanchez has continued, but his teammate has not. He's dived into the pits.
Interesting decision there. I mean, maybe because they've come into contact last week. Perhaps they want to be far away from each other this week.
It's not the Red. Is this the Red Bull team we're talking about, Formula One?
Perhaps.
Yeah, Frederico's now out of the pits, starting out in lap 3. Position 12 he is, and he's up 17 positions from where he started. The retirement list continues though, folks. We've lost Alex Pole. Brian Renfors is now, he's also, well, he's out there flashing in and out, but he's sitting in 18th. Stanley Lee, his car's looking better, but he's still got a long way to go before he'll be back out. The cars we have lost now is Alex Pole, Kim Dong-jin, Sean Thompson, Paul Nelson are the 4 retirements.
Not exactly the most fortunate race for these drivers having to retire this early into the race. But of course, racing at this high-risk, high-reward circuit does have its risks as well as rewards.
Yeah, that's right. And we're riding now with Mod Zafri Zanud in here, up 3 positions from where he started in the Ferrari. And I think if I was going to attack Nordschleife, I'd probably want to attack it in a Ferrari. I had a drive of that in the Mercedes last week. I did prefer the Ferrari over the Mercedes.
Well, but we've also got to remember that drivers, they're only allowed to stick to the car that they've chosen to drive this season. At the same time, you're also actually able to change the car once within the season, so that we may have seen more drivers actually going for the Ferrari this race.
Possibly. I think these 2 are normally in the Ferrari, aren't they, anyway?
Yeah.
Oh, hold on to it, Mod. I thought this is a tricky part.
Very well there.
Yeah. That's the challenge here, isn't it? They're coming off that fast part of the circuit into those chicanes. They're unsighted and they tighten up, and unless you're on your A game, you can get caught out very, very quickly.
Exactly, as Zafri does everything he can to catch up with his teammate Abi Putra right in front of him. Of course, we know Zafri, his driving style is a bit towards the aggressive side, so the thing is, as long as he's able to be on top of his car, that should not pose too much of a problem, although he will have to be careful as he takes some parts of this circuit. As we've seen just now, the contact between Matt Morris and can't remember the other driver. One mistake and out of the lead you go.
Yeah, well, Chris Hill, he's down in 5th now. He's used his fast repair and he's continuing on. And Jazrin Jali, he was the one that come unstuck and tagged him. He's down there in 14th now after getting that car back for service.
Yes, Jazrin was the other driver who was contending for the lead but lost it, and now has to settle for P14 all the way down as we see the driver right in front of him. Who is that? It's Federico there, going a bit out of shape as he approached that corner.
Yeah, he's doesn't look like he's hit anything. He's let's see what he's doing. Yeah, he's pushing along now, so he might have just got a bit out of shape, as you were saying there. But that brings Jazrin Jali up to 13th. I think the person he had contact with was Matt Morris, wasn't he?
Yes, that was
Matt.
The incident there which led to Matt losing his lead and Jazrin losing his second place.
So they're down in 12th and 13th after that, after getting those cars back. And the time was Matt Morris took 9 minutes, so he lost 30 seconds. So that was good effort there to get that back in one piece. But the race continues here. We've got Abby starting to stretch his legs over Mr. Zanudin now, and they've got an 8.6 second gap, folks, back to Lachlan. Lachlan's now coming under pressure from Kevin Huang in the McLaren. 5th is Chris Hill, and he's got a bit of a gap over Philip Choi, but then Simon George Sanchez is starting to close in for that 6th position as well.
So let's just ride on Simon for a while here as he tries to close his gap with Philip Choi in front of him. As they approach this series of corners, hard on the brake he goes as he approaches this long right-hander. Because again, these corners are quite blind, so one mistake, if you miss the braking point, off goes your car.
Yeah, definitely, and you can just see how hard he is working to get that car around here, as they all are, and it's a very, very challenging circuit, this.
Absolutely, as he approaches this right-hander, very crucial that exit of the corner. That's actually quite a bit of playroom for you to make full use of the curve as he now approaches this corner. Oops, a bit slippery there as he now approaches this section. A bit of a crest there before he goes hard on tapping the brake slightly here and up this undulating section. Of course, trying not to use too much of the exit grass there or he'll lose balance.
You could just hear that car also getting airborne across that hump. I think that was the place where we saw in real life, one of the GT cars flip going through there.
Yeah, devastating incident there, actually killing one spectator, not exactly.
It was very, very... No, but it does demonstrate the dangers that this track presents, not only to the drivers but also potentially to the spectators, unfortunately. But you could just see there Simon George Sanchez and how hard he is working. Tell you what, they will be glad when they get on this long back straight, so they can just sort of relax a bit and catch their breath.
Exactly, a lot of space for him to stretch his legs. I do believe this stretch may actually be longer than the stretch at Le Mans. So a bit of breathing room for Simon here as he tries to, although the thing is the car in front of him, Philip Choi is not exactly within attacking distance, but that could change as he now approaches this slight chicane and this chicane before they now return to the slightly safer Grand Prix section of the track. Oh, he actually goes into the pits. Yeah,
it's time for pit stops now. They all have to come in. We can see the Ferraris coming out now. The first one is Abhi Putra. He's coming out well ahead of Mod Zanudin there. As we can see, he's still getting fuel. Kevin Huang comes out in second position, so it's a good stop there. I'm not sure what's happened to Mod Zanudin here. He's been in there for 32 seconds. Now he comes out in fourth. Very costly. He double the time. I think he's throwing some tyres on that.
All right, the line he took through Yokohama is not exactly tightest line there. Of course, he now sits behind the Mercedes of Lachlan Crowe in front of him.
Yeah, I reckon 32 seconds was his stop. The rest is 16. So I reckon he's possibly not unchecked his tyres, and they're throwing tyres on that car as well. Either that or he's had a penalty, pit lane penalty that he might have had to serve, but I think it was more tyres.
Could be, although he's driving, because his driving style is a bit towards the aggressive side. I think that may take a slight toll on the tires. Well, of course, he's a really fast driver. As you can see, he's already keeping up all the way in front of the grid.
You can see Stephen Grimmer there. He was 42 seconds. He took all 4 tyres there. So did Jiamin Kim. He was 41 seconds. He threw tyres on as well. So I'd say that's what Mr. Zanuden has done here. But as they come through the second lap here, your top 10 are, we've got Abby Putra. He is leading over Kevin Huang in the McLaren. Kevin's come up 13 positions now from where he started. Lachlan Crowe in the Mercedes is third. Mod Zanuden is fourth. He's starting to make inroads on the Mercedes ahead of him. Matt Morris in another Mercedes sits in fifth. His teammate Chris Hill sits behind him in the sister Mercedes. Then the first of the BMWs, Jazrin Jali, he's defending against Philip Choi here in the Mercedes. That's 7th and 8th. Simon George Sanchez 9th, and Federico Texiera here in the other Mercedes is sitting in 10th position.
A bit of mistake there by Simon as he overstepped the curve a slight bit and lost a bit of speed through that section. As he now comes to this part of the track, a right-hander that he approaches have to take this line nicely in order to get the best exit to take this straight here.
Yeah, that's a tricky part of the circuit there, because as you go through it tightens up, and you can get caught out by that last right left-hander because it's quite tight. You can see now Philip Choi here on the back of Jazrin Jali. He's going to make a move. The question is, where does he make a move, and can he do it cleanly?
Yes, Philip Choi not too far behind Jazrin Jali, although yes, the gap is now actually closing a slight bit. So it would be a matter of a few corners before Philip gets a chance to make a move.
You just see how hard these two are pushing, and how these corners are flying past them. They're really showing their mastery of driving one of these cars.
Absolutely, of course, like you said, mastery. You need to be really careful on this track. You need to be on top of the form all the time whilst being able to push the car as far as possible. And that's exactly what Philippe and Jazrin are doing tonight as they battle it out.
Yeah, and they've completed now 3 laps. They're on to their 4th. We've got 15 minutes to go. We're projecting they'll probably get about 5 laps, maximum 6 here. But Kevin Huang now, he's moved up to 2nd, and he's got well past Lachlan Crowe here. That gap is quite substantial by the looks of it. Just bring that up, the battle pack gap. 4 seconds is the gap already. So Kevin Huang now, he's starting to make inroads onto Abbey, and that gap is lying because it hasn't updated, but it's about 11.5 seconds on my telemetry. So Kevin,
now let's have a look at, yes, Kevin.
You go, it's fine.
Yeah, of course, Kevin now quite clear in front and a bit behind him, and just look at the way the McLaren is shooting flames out of the exhaust as he takes his corner.
Yes.
Nicely executed there, but I think Kevin has a bit of, I guess he's going to have a bit of peace before the stall by sea approaches. All right, we were talking about this corner previously. So Kevin, he took the inside, want to be outside, but okay, I decided to go back in again to take the banking. Of course, look, the feeling you get when you take the banking right, of course, is a good feeling instead of taking the flat section of the corner.
Yes, it certainly is. He sort of did a good job going through there. He kept most of it in the banking, so last time we saw him in the qualifying, he ended up spitting it into the wall, so that's not the good feeling. But I tell you what, those flames out the back are making me hungry, man.
Yeah, well, I think it's past their time for you.
You meant to ask why am I getting hungry from looking at flames? But you didn't.
Why are you getting hungry for looking at flames? You look, what, barbecue or something?
No, marshmallows.
Not the healthiest choice.
No. It's, here comes Mr. Zanud, and he's on the back of Lachlan Crowe here now. We'll keep an eye on this battle, folks, and see if he can get past. And Lachlan's struggling a little bit out there in the Mercedes at the moment.
Yeah, I'm just looking at how Zafir is actually going all over, trying to squeeze everything out of the Ferrari that he has in order to try to get a gap. Oh, you know, all right, almost coming into contact with Lachlan there, but backed out slightly in order to save both of them.
Yeah, and this is when the trust between the two drivers is paramount, isn't it? And Mr. Zanudin here, he's trusting Lachlan's not going to do anything silly, and it's
that was so close, almost all the way up as they now approach this banked section again. Nice execute again. Lachlan Crowe save. Yep, the bumper cam here. Let's look at what Zaf is up to. All the way up!
That was a bumper cam, alright, wasn't it?
Yes. Either both drivers have so much trust in each other, or Zafri is just driving all the way to the edge.
Well, here's his opportunity now to blow past down this back straight, jump on the roof cam. Let's see what sort of speed he's doing here. 278 compared to the Mercedes 271. And you can see now.
He takes the outside and he takes the position out of Lachlan Crowe, but yes, he makes the move. He now sits ahead of Lachlan Crowe.
Yeah, he really needed to make that move at that point, didn't he? Otherwise,
sure he had to.
He was going to get held up for a lot longer.
I guess that's one of the safer parts to make a safe pass on this track. But Lachlan, he's now back again.
He's
drag race down this track. all right. Down to the Yoko S they come. Oh, all right. I mean, Safi's got the.
Oh, here it goes.
Right. Switchback, yeah. Exactly right. Lachlan taking the switchback, and he has replayed his position. But is Safi gonna do anything here? Nah. I think this part of the track is just a bit too narrow for Safi to.
Well, this is where he needs to make that move, because if he doesn't, when they get back into the touring part of the road, he's going to find it hard to get a gap on Lachlan to get through.
Yeah, I think that actually, I think Zafri's driving is quite entertaining, even whilst he battles against Lachlan.
I just think he's in an Italian car. We should have a way that he can stick his arm out the window and shake it.
Mafia style.
Mafia style, that's it. So, hope everyone's enjoying the coverage here of Sim Racers Asia. If you've got any questions, put them in the chat channel here on YouTube, and we'll do our very best to answer them.
Exactly. I'm sure we're also having a lot of fun covering this race.
Yeah. It's been quite entertaining, but at the moment, we're, for the update, folks, Abby is leading this 16 seconds over Kevin Huang, who will stay with this battle. It's the closest on track at the moment, and we'll just see what Mr. Zanudin can do in the Ferrari, because, of course, now this is where the Ferrari comes into its own on this style of road-style circuit. It's just a matter of if he can get through without trading any paint.
Yeah, Italian car on a German circuit. I'm not too sure if the Germans will be too happy about it.
Why not? But yeah, it's a German car being mobbed by an Italian car here on a German circuit. So
We'll have to give them that.
8 minutes to go here, folks. So I reckon we're going to get this lap done. This will be, they're on lap 5 now. Kevin's just ahead of these guys, 2 seconds up the road. So you can see them there. So they're actually closing in on Kevin Huang at the moment.
Well, Bernie, I'm actually feeling a bit evil at this stage because the gains that these drivers are making on the cars behind them, like for RB, he has 16 seconds, or like you just said earlier, 16 seconds ahead of Kevin. Does that mean he's able to cement his lead? Or does it mean that he'll have 16 seconds to recover in the event that he comes into contact again?
If he comes into contact with something, 16 seconds not going to save him because he's got a heck of a long way to get that car back to the pits if it's damaged. So, no, he can't relax. He's got to focus. The good news is he doesn't have anyone fighting him at the moment. But Jazrin Jali and Philip Choi, they are battling at the moment. And this is continuing between the BMW and the Mercedes, and as is the battle up here. But now check this out, Matt Morris, he's coming to the party. He's on the back of Mr. Zanudin now, and Zafri here, he's having a Mercedes nightmare at the moment, I think.
Well, I think Matt is also going all over the rear end of Zafri there, so it might not be just Zafri being flamboyant tonight.
And Matt's got his teammate Chris Hill behind him, so the 2 velocity cars now are coming through. Here he goes, stretching his legs. Is he going to make it? He's going to have to be careful on the outside. I tell you what, he did not lift. That was a
ballsy move, and he takes the position from Zafri. What a move.
He didn't even lift on the outside. How much trust did he have in that Ferrari not coming across the road?
Obviously, drivers here having a lot of respect for one another, although Zafri now, I think he's making the game back on Matt Morris.
He'll get in that tow now and he'll make it back, but we'll see. Matt's not going to sort of let him through as gentlemanly as Zafri just did then.
Probably. I mean, Zafri, he's in an Italian car, he's in a Ferrari. Why do you have to be a gentleman? You just drive right if you're in a Ferrari.
What?
Right, let's see the... Whoa! Zafri squeezes it and he gets his position back from Matt Morris, although, of course, Matt Morris, a bit of mistake there. Coming off the banking onto the flat section. So he's down one position. All right.
The Ferrari, though, it got in that banking.
Into the wall goes Matt Morris. Disappointing for him.
Did he actually hit the wall?
Yeah, I think he almost did. Went off track. A bit of a scrape against the wall, I think.
Let's have a look at this. Yeah, I think you're right, because that car was straight. Let's have a look. Yeah, he did. He hit the wall. He was just out of shot there. You can see the damage as he comes through on the slow-mo shot there.
Yeah, exactly. Not too bad of a move, although... Oh, my goodness, now. Zafri has come into contact.
That was Lachlan.
Lachlan Crowe there. Not a night for Lachlan.
No, let's have a look at this. And these two were battling it out, weren't they? We had Chris Matt Morris behind him here. So Lachlan's got it up on the grass, brought it back on. And let's have a look if there was any contact between the two. Yeah, I think there was a bit of contact, possibly, or Lachlan's lost it. And then let's try and get an wide view of... Oh, not that wide. And you can just see there the Ferrari coming to grief as well, straight into the wall, both sides. And that's going to end the Ferrari's run, I think.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much ended the run for Zafri and Lachlan.
So both, that's Mr. Zanuden's race done, but we can see the leader, Abhi Putra, now coming across the start-finish straight for the final time. He'll have one more lap to go. 3 minutes is left on the clock, and he comes through to complete lap number 5, and he's going for the final lap now.
Was Abhi Putra, good drive by him tonight. Of course, in this track, being fast is one thing, but staying out of trouble, that's actually the more crucial factor tonight, as we've seen from the various incidents before, if you want a chance to win here.
This battle between Jazrin Jali and Philip Choi continues, and looks like Philip might have got past Jazrin there, and he's moved up that gap from Abhi back to Kevin in the McLaren. It was 16 seconds. It's now down to 9.5 seconds. So Kevin is definitely making inroads. If we look at the lap times, Abhi did an 8.15, Kevin did an 8.08, Matt Morris an 8.12. So Kevin is definitely the fastest on the circuit. Last lap through, he's got this thing hooked up, and he's going to try and take the win here tonight.
Sure is. I'll be a great driving by him all night long.
Well, he'll be happy with that one. He's started out of 16th tonight, coming home in second. He'll be very happy with that, but he's not going to give up. We'll see if he can actually close that 9-second gap over Abhi. So who do you think's going to take this win, folks? Put it in the comment section, and we'll see if you're right. What about you, Weehan? Who are you going for here tonight?
Well, it's the Nurburgring, so if I were to say Abhi Putra, he has a chance of winning by me because of the lead he has ahead of Kevin Huang, but that's provided he does not get tangled up as he completes the rest of this lap.
Just saw the Ferrari go flying past. Here comes Kevin now, and unfortunately we don't have live gap. I think we might. If we go to the telemetry, that does give us that live gap. So the gap's out to 12.9 seconds, and climbing to Abhi out front here. Oh, Matt Morris is into the wall.
Well, not exactly. Nice for him there. Having a look at the replay, so what it looked like was he went over the curbs a bit. He tapped the outside grass, and that just destabilized his car as he went into the wall.
Yeah, the white flags just come out while we look at this replay. Oh, yeah, he certainly did, didn't he? He went onto the grass, into the wall hard, and that's going to have a lot of damage to that car.
Exactly, and he's still on top of his car.
Yeah, but look who's he's got behind him.
Oh, all right. All right, I thought he was driving. I was just on his chase camera, so I did not see all the other cars behind him. So, of course, we've got Jazrin Jali and Philip Choi behind them. Jazrin now tries to put some pressure on Matt there. trying to make a move to this left-hander. They can't.
I'm surprised Matt's actually still going forwards in that car because it took a massive hit.
Yeah, I guess the thing with the Mercedes is it's actually quite stable. It's actually a relatively stable car, so some damage here shouldn't. Oh, as we just said, that Memo is losing a bit of balance and Justin backs out. So Matt still holds on to his position, although Justin would have almost overtaken him. So I'm not too sure how long Matt Morris will be able to hold on to his position, as Justin is all over, is trying to apply all the pressure he can get. Justin, the pace.
I think once Jazarin gets onto the back stretch here, he might get a good run, get in the slipstream and slingshot past. But our race leader, excuse me folks, been a long day, Abhi Putra now bringing this car home. He's up 16 positions from where he started in 17th, so he's climbed up just as much as Kevin Huang behind him. Well, he's actually the biggest mover at the moment, up 16 positions.
Well, I think Abhi Putra is the even bigger mover. Started 17th and is now leading. Kevin started 16th and he's in second currently.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
And if Kevin wins, they'll be equal on the biggest mover award tonight. Chris Hill, he's up one position in third. Then we've got Jazarin Jali here. He's now got past Matt Morris, and he's down 4 from where he started, sitting in fourth. Then we've got Matt Morris down 2 from where he started. Philip Choi, also down 2 from where he started. He's currently in 6th position, and he's starting to work on the back of Matt Morris here.
You know, just looking at the way they took the carousel there, quite a you would require quite a lot of courage to slingshot yourself into the carousel. Of course, both of them, they had carried the right amount of speed through the corner, so that would serve them well to take that corner. Of course, Philip Choi still sits behind Matt Morris, and he sits behind Jaswin Jali. Of course, Jaswin then made the move ahead of Matt Morris.
Yeah, and looking at the retirements, we've lost the number 11 of Mod Zanudin in the Ferrari. He went no further, and at the same time, Lachlan Crowe in the 420 Mercedes retired. We've lost the number 21. Jinyan Che has also retired. The number 30, Lin Yongse, I think. He's retired that car. The number 19 of Jiamin Kim has parked it, so has Hugo Silva Jr. in the number 8. Alex Pole in the 399 has also retired. Kim Dong Jing, Sean Thompson, Paul Nelson have also retired, and the 2 that did not start was Ahmed Nurizm and Adam Utri. So we're down to 12 runners out of 22 starters here.
Of course, not the perfect night for everyone here, although for the guys who are still racing tonight and for the guys whose cars are in one piece, I think it's going to serve them well as they have raced tonight. Because Abhi Putra now comes along this long backstretch for the final time, and he should be all set to take the race win tonight.
Yeah, he's got a massive lead. It'll be breathing a sigh of relief now that he's through the tricky parts, and he's just got these S-bends, almost, I call them chicanes, but it's not really a chicane, it's more like an S-bend. Comes through for the final time, back up into the stadium. The crowd will be on their feet to cheer him home, and the win tonight goes to Abrafadi Radicha Putra in the Ferrari. Good drive.
Because excellent driving there by Putra, excellent racing after this animal of a track that he's managed to conquer. He wins the race. Kevin Huang comes in second as he crosses the checkered. He takes checkered flag, crosses the line. He finishes in second. Now in third, let's have a look at who's in third. I believe it's Jaswin Jali. He comes home third after. Sorry, is it Jaswin or Chris? Sorry, Chris Hill, he takes third. Jaswin Jali takes fourth after a crazy race for both of them tonight.
Oh,
Oh, who
What
was that?
the heck was that?
What was that?
Not sure who
All
that
right.
was. It was Matt Morris or Chris Hill?
Matt Morris.
It was Matt Morris,
Wow.
was it? What was that about?
No idea. Maybe they came into contact somewhere through during the race. Not exactly sure Jasri will be too happy with that move.
No, well,
Simon, of course.
he's pretty much lined him up deliberately and ran into him. So I'm not sure if that's cricket. But obviously they've come together somewhere, and Matt was not very happy with the outcome of that. You can see now Rob Harris comes home in 8th, followed by Stephen Grimmer, will come home in 9th position. Brian Renfors, he's in the pits. Stanley Lee, he's in the pits. So the only one running now is Stephen Grimmer, as he's coming down the back straight here to take the checkered flag. And while he's doing that, well, when he finishes, we will go through and go through our final positions. Abby in the chat room is saying lucky win with a big grin. I don't know how lucky that was. That was an awesome drive. He said he got leg cramps last 2 laps, so he was in a lot of pain. I can imagine that. So here we go.
It must be painful for RP there.
Be interesting to see what equipment Abby is using for his sim racing. So we see now Stephen Grimmer, he'll come across the line. The last car to finish, well, the last one on the track, but he won't be the last one to finish because he will come home in 9th, up 4 positions from where he finished. So fantastic drive. But let's have a look at the final race results here, folks, so you can see where your favourite driver has finished. So Abby Putra, he's the biggest mover tonight, up 16 positions to take the win. Kevin Huang up 14 positions, comes home in 2nd. Chris Hill finishes in 3rd. Jazzarin Jali 4th. Philip Choi 5th. 6th was Matt Morris. 7th, Simon George Sanchez. 8th, Frederico Duarte Joaquim Tixiera, up 15 positions to come home in 8th. 9th, Rob Harris. 10th, Stephen Grimmer. 11th tonight was Jin Yun Chai, and then Yongxi Lin up 9 positions to be classified in 12th. Did you want to call the other 12?
Sure, Lachlan Crow, after perhaps a disappointing race for Lachlan, that he finishes in 13th. And Zafri Zainuddin also, we've seen him driving on fire this race, but he's also had to settle for 14th due to incident there. So Brian Ramford in 15th, also quite not exactly the best race for him. Kim Gyumin in 16th, and Hugo Silva Jr., Alex Paul Vatek 17th and 18th. Stanley Lee in 19th, Sean Thompson in 20th. 21st goes to Paul Nelson, and 22nd goes to Kim Dongjin. Of course, 23rd and 24th, the guys who've not started this race, Adam Yutri and Ahmad Nurazan.
Yep, so they won't be classified, and I was a bit worried when you said Mr. Zanuddin was on fire. I thought, well, I didn't see that. I did see him slam the wall pretty hard. But looks like we've got Kevin Huang in the green room. We'll bring him up, Weehan. We'll have a quick chat with him, and then we might call it a night, I think.
Hi Kevin, good evening. Welcome to the post-race interview of Round 9 of Sim Racers Asia here at the Nurburgring. So your race tonight, of course, you started not exactly at the place that you would start usually in P16, but you've come home to finish in 2nd. So of course, you've climbed up quite a good half of the field there. Tell us more about your race tonight. Of course, congratulations on your race results tonight.
Hey, Wayhan. Thanks for having me here. Yeah, first of all, congratulations to Abarafti, first-time winner. So great race from him. My race was completely terrible. I don't think he qualified either. He actually started 1 position behind me. So I feel like at first place started 17th and second place started 16th. So just from looking at that, you kind of could tell how messy this race was. I think so. The qualifying was just absolutely horrible for me. I couldn't believe what I was doing. It's just completely. I don't know. It's just, I felt like my left hand became my right hand, and my right leg became my left leg. I don't know. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was just getting nervous because I did countless laps in practice, but it didn't matter. I mean, you crash, you just start over. But then qualifying once you have pressure on it, it starts to get really nerve-wracking at the end of the lap because you're already built up the gap, and then you're just thinking one screw up and the whole lap is negated. So it was just a horror show for qualifying. And then the race, it was I just said forget it. I'm starting so far back. I was just saying whatever you do, just be twice as patient as you were thinking of. So like if there's a gap, I should go for it, but it has to be like twice as big as I would normally go for it before I go for it, especially on the first lap. Or if I think just like a tiny bit that the guy's going to turn in on me or do something weird, I'm just going to hold back because I knew there's going to be a lot of crashes. So for the first lap, I think I started 16th, and then at the end of the first lap, I think I was in 6th place. I couldn't believe it. And the leaders were only like 8-10 seconds ahead of me. And I thought once I saw that, I knew the race was on, and I had to push. Yeah, the rest of the race wasn't that much to mention. I was pushing really hard, and then I almost crashed twice. I spun twice. I think I was faster than Aberafti, but and it doesn't matter if you're faster and you can't keep the car pointed straight. It doesn't matter how fast you are. So yeah, congrats to Aberafti. He did a better job than anyone.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, this track is high risk, high reward. Of course, you have to being fast is one thing, but as Bernie and I were talking about it just now, being fast is one thing, but you have to also be on top of your car and to be able to bring it home in one piece, and that's exactly what you've done.
You need to have discipline. That's the problem. I think that you think. I know I did my fastest lap was like a 8:08, 8 minutes 8 seconds, and that's looking at Aberafti. And this fastest lap is 8 minutes 14. So I'm like 6 seconds a lap faster than him. I know that, but when I'm pushing, I can't do that 8:08 without spinning. So I have to. He can probably go much faster, but he knows that that if he goes much faster, he'll spin, and so you lose 10 seconds for one spin. So or you die or you crash. So it's he had the discipline. I didn't have it. Yeah. It's a crazy race.
Yeah, we're having a look at the statistics here because I love my statistics. We had 22 starters here, Kevin. Out of those 22 starters, 9 actually got to the finish line. So that's a crash rate of around about 60% of the starters tonight.
Yeah, that's crazy. I don't know. Going into this race, I didn't expect. I don't know what I expected. It's just for this race to be in the championship is kind of really it throws like a curveball into the thing. Anyone could DNF. I think one of the big ones, Ahmad Nourazan, he's like 3rd place in the championship, and he's the first one out. So it really anything could change the. And I didn't qualify, so I was actually really worried that I was going to get a DNF because there's a big chance someone's going to crash in front of me. I have nowhere to go on the first lap, and then James Rin was 2nd place. So if he had won the race, and I finished like 20th or 15th, it has a huge impact on the championship. But luckily, things. I got super lucky. I made so many mistakes tonight. I really don't deserve. I don't deserve this 2nd place at all.
And
really.
What was the radio chatter like? I'm assuming it was pretty loud tonight.
It was all right, except for maybe 2 arguments.
Yeah.
It wasn't as bad as I thought. I think there's after the first or second laps, there's probably only like half the people left. So everyone's just running their own race. I think it was difficult to see anyone else. So maybe that's why. But I'm just glad that race is over. I don't like this track. It's not. I don't. It's fun to drive on, but it's not really good to race on. I don't think. Too. It takes a different type of driver to really succeed here. You don't need it's a different skill set than to race on a regular track. So it's completely different. So yeah, I'm happy to go to the next track, Silverstone.
Yeah, I'm sure that's going to be a little bit more friendly towards you all. Although I'm thinking we might put Weehan in the car and he might spice up the racing a bit there for you.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Weehan,
I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind.
Yeah. He whenever he's in a race, it always spices things up.
Yeah. So before we let you go, Kevin, is there anyone you'd like to thank or anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think I'm okay. Just want to thank my luck. I just got super. I threw everything. I threw this race away like 3 times and it came back to me 3 times. So it's kind of like Hamilton at that race at Baku. I think he. I don't want to compare myself to Hamilton, but like his luck is. I don't have the same skill, but I have his luck. I got his luck today from this race.
Well,
yeah, thanks a lot, guys. Yeah.
Well, you know what they say about motorsport and luck, and that is you create your own luck, and that's exactly what you did tonight. So good drive, and bringing that McLaren home in second.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Brendan. Thanks for hanging. See you guys next week.
Yep. See you, Kevin.
See you.
And a big shout out also to Abby. Awesome drive there. He gets the biggest mover award, up 16 positions to take the win tonight in the Ferrari. I was thinking in my head about what we saw with Jazrin Jali, and I think it was Matt Morris, and that incident. And I was wondering what had caused that. I cast my mind back to when we were in the car with Jazrin. Remember when he was behind, I think it was Matt, and he lost control, went in and tagged him, and that cost them both a lot of spots. I wonder if that was what we saw at the end of that race was a bit of the annoyance of what happened earlier on.
Yes, I think that could have been the incident that perhaps caused Matt to be a bit flustered and dealing it out.
Yeah,
on Just Read.
It's funny though. Years ago when I was in this, I did exactly the same thing. I lost my temper. I got served big time, and what happened was at the end of the race, the driver said, "Oh, I'm sorry for that slight touch." He said, and that was enough. I just rear-ended him at the end. So I don't condone it, but I'm just saying sometimes our tempers do take the better of us, and these things happen. So anyway, I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, at least it's good that you're aware of it. And people who may not be aware of their own temper at all.
It's not so much temper; it's frustration. I think that's more it. It's it's hard to explain. You know what I mean? Things like that happen.
Dude, sometimes you gotta learn how to control it, right?
Yes, that's correct. Anyway, folks, on that note, I'm going to go and control my temper in a moment once I get off the channel here. And but if you like your open wheeler racing, come back 9:15 p.m. GMT plus 10 this Monday night. I'll be calling the race with Tim Gaucracher, and that is the Skip Barber Monday Night Lights. So normal Alex McCullough normally calls that. He's got the night off, so I'll be calling that, and I'm definitely looking forward to it. Last week they were the highest strength of field again for that week, and we'll see how that goes. And I'll tell you what, I was racing in that one, and last week, and I was in the third split, and had a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to that. If you missed the NASCAR action today, folks, you can go back and watch that. It's about 5 hours worth. They were racing the ANSCAR Coca-Cola 600 today, and the full coverage is on our YouTube channel, as well as the night before the Australian Online Supercar Championship, we had the Montreal 650, and that's also on our YouTube channel. So feel free to go and have a look at that as well. So, Weehan, thanks for calling the action with me again tonight. I hope you enjoyed it, and I certainly did.
Oh, you sure bet I did enjoy it tonight. Of course, I think this is one of those races that, well, grief for the drivers, but a lot of fun for us commentators. So we just look at the drivers beat one another up. And we're just thinking as spectators and going, all right, he's beating that guy up, he's killed that guy, so we've now got less drivers left to call.
They were racing pretty hard out there, and there's some entertaining racing, that's for sure. I hope all the viewers enjoyed the coverage as well, because we definitely did. But anyway, Weehan, it's time for us to, you to go and have lunch or whatever time it is over in Singapore, and it's time for me to think about going to sleep very shortly.
Yeah, pretty much time for me to have my dinner. It's been exhausting, but fun race tonight. Of course, thank you so much for the broadcast tonight, buddy.
Yeah, and thank you to everyone that tuned in. So on behalf of Weehan Chan, I'm Bernie Weemus. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Hopefully we'll catch up again soon. But in the meantime, have a great, fun, safe weekend. And until we meet each other again, stay healthy. Good night.